me in the natural process of evolving as a human being and as a career woman, I guess, in the sense of I was open to everything.
Helena Christensen was more than a beauty icon, more than a face on magazine covers. Behind the glamour of runways and flashing cameras, she was a woman whose life was fueled by passion, pursuit, and choices that weighed heavily. Her heart pulled her toward love affairs that burned bright but carried high risks. Her story is not only about beauty, but about the dangerous pull of desire and the price it requires. Join us as we uncover the untold story of how love shaped the supermodel's fate. Helena Christensen had long been known as one of the striking faces of the fashion world, a woman who carried herself with grace and confidence through decades of modeling. However, even with her legendary status, she found herself in the middle of a storm when she decided to attend Gigi Hadid's denim-themed 24th birthday party in 2019. Helena showed up in a daring black lace bustier, pairing it with high-waisted jeans. The choice of outfit was bold, youthful, and striking, but it quickly became a target for harsh criticism. For some, it was a daring fashion statement. For others, it was something they believed a woman of her age should not wear. The loudest criticism came from Alexandra Schulman, a former editor who had once held one of the most powerful positions in British fashion. Schulman took issue with Helena's outfit and used her column to call out what she saw as inappropriate styling. Instead of praising Helena for confidence and originality, she described the look as cheap and unappealing. She went further by adding that, at 50 years old, Helena was too old to dress that way. Her remarks were cutting and direct, sparking immediate attention. Schulman did not stop there. She painted a vivid picture comparing Helena's appearance in the bustier to something exaggerated and theatrical, saying she resembled a figure out of a small-town fantasy. In her piece, she argued that women should understand the limits of age when choosing how to dress. To her, there was a line that women crossed when they tried to wear the same kind of revealing or playful outfits they had once worn in their 20s or 30s. She wrote about the changes that time brings to the body and suggested that fashion could not disguise those changes. According to her, clothes always revealed the truth, no matter how much someone wanted to hold on to youth. Her words carried an even harsher edge when she turned the discussion toward the purpose of women's bodies. She argued that once women were past the years of childbearing, the act of showing off their figures became disturbing to society. She admitted that this view might not be fair, but she insisted it was real. Those lines pushed her piece beyond fashion commentary into an argument that felt personal and unforgiving. The backlash was immediate. Many people in the fashion world and beyond felt her remarks were out of step with modern thinking. The idea that women should hide their bodies once they reached a certain age was met with anger and disappointment. People called out the ageism in her piece, pointing out that such views only serve to restrict women instead of supporting their freedom of expression. Social media amplified the reactions, with many rallying around Helena. Helena herself did not stay quiet. Instead of retreating from the criticism, she chose to answer back in her own way. She posted a photo of herself wearing another bustier, standing alongside friends Tali Lennox and Camilla Stark. Alongside the photo, she celebrated the power of women, reminding everyone of the importance of supporting one another instead of tearing each other down. She emphasized confidence, beauty, and resilience, standing tall against the judgment that had been thrown her way. Her response struck a chord. Many in the industry applauded her for standing firm and refusing to accept the narrow standards being pushed upon her. Designers, models, and fashion lovers spoke out in her defense, highlighting how outdated it was to link age with what someone should or should not wear. They pointed out that fashion was not only about youth, but also about individuality and self-expression at every stage of life. The clash between Schulman's sharp critique and Helena's defiant response brought up deeper questions within the world of fashion. For decades, the industry had been criticized for imposing strict rules on how women should look, dress, and behave. Ageism, in particular, had often been overlooked compared to other issues like body size and diversity. Helena's case brought that subject back into focus. The idea that women should fade into the background or cover themselves up once they reached middle age felt cruel to many observers. The scene at Gigi Hadid's party, which had simply been a celebration among friends, turned into a symbol of a larger fight. Helena had not just worn an outfit, she had unknowingly stepped into a debate that touched on identity, freedom, and the right to live without apology. What she put on that evening became more than clothing. It became a challenge to those who believed fashion should follow rigid rules. As the days passed, the support for Helena only grew stronger. The backlash against Schulman highlighted how much attitudes had shifted. Women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s began sharing stories and images of themselves wearing bold outfits, proudly showing that age did not erase beauty or confidence. The narrative began to move away from restriction and toward celebration. Helena's choice of clothing turned into a reminder that style is not bound by numbers, and self-expression cannot be boxed in by rules. The entire incident revealed how much fashion still carries weight in shaping opinions and sparking debates. A simple outfit became a spark that set off conversations about freedom, identity, and the way women are judged. In standing her ground, Helena Christensen did more than defend her outfit. She defended the right of women everywhere to wear what makes them feel alive, no matter their age. Meanwhile, that wasn't the end of the drama. Alexandra Schulman had not yet spoken about the criticism that began to build around her remarks, but the reaction from the public was already loud and harsh. Her social media page quickly filled with sharp comments from people who thought her opinion was unnecessary and out of touch. Many of those who came across her Instagram decided to leave their thoughts, pointing at her age and mocking her for trying to judge someone else. What started as a single fashion remark had now turned into a wave of comments, pushing back at her and reminding her of how words could spread and stir anger in today's world. To some, it felt as if Schulman had reached back into a different time, where strict rules about age and appearance ruled the industry. Yet the fashion world had shifted in recent years, making room for individuality, diversity, and the freedom to wear whatever felt right. Because of this change, her words stung a lot of people and pushed them to call her out. The debate did not stay confined to social media. It reached the stage of daytime television, where it became a topic of heated conversation. On Wednesday morning, the co-hosts of The View decided to tackle it, and they made it clear that they disapproved of Schulman's opinion. They took apart her words piece by piece, showing why they thought they were damaging and unfair. Their voices carried weight, because the show often reflected the thoughts of everyday women watching from home. Whoopi Goldberg led the way by breaking down the problem. She explained that in a world where women had worked so hard to build each other up and support one another, it made little sense for someone like Schulman to drag another woman down because of her clothing choice. For Goldberg, fashion was never about strict rules, but about freedom and comfort. She pushed forward the idea that what mattered most was how someone felt in their own clothes. If Helena Christensen felt comfortable in her outfit, then no one should have the power to strip that confidence away. Goldberg also reminded viewers of the business side of fashion. Designers such as Christian Siriano and many others had already embraced inclusivity, aiming to create clothes that were not only stylish but also wearable by a wide range of people. Their goal was simple: to design clothes that people wanted to buy and enjoy. Fashion was no longer locked in rigid boundaries of age, size, or background. Instead, it had opened up, pushing designers to think of clothing as a form of expression for everyone. Sunny Hostin, another co-host, expanded on that thought. She spoke about the constant judgment that women face regarding appearance. From an early age, women were taught to measure themselves by how they looked, and the criticism rarely stopped as they grew older. Society often pushed them to fit into narrow expectations, deciding what worked for them and what did not. Hostin pointed out that such judgment was exhausting and harmful, because women were already dealing with so many pressures. For her, Schulman's remarks carried an extra sting because they came from another woman. Hostin found it troubling that instead of supporting each other, women sometimes turned against one another. That choice, in her view, only added more weight to the already heavy criticism women carried. It was not just about one outfit, it was about the constant cycle of being judged and shamed. The incident quickly grew beyond Helena Christensen's outfit. It brought attention to the way older women in particular were treated in the fashion industry, and in society as a whole. Too often, aging was used as a reason to push women aside, as if beauty and self-expression belonged only to the young. The comments from Schulman reflected an outdated idea that after a certain age, women should shrink back and avoid certain choices. But the public reaction showed that people were ready to push against those rules. Social media users filled the gap by defending Christensen, and television personalities amplified that defense. Together, they turned the story into something larger, a discussion about freedom, confidence, and the right to choose clothing without fear of mockery. Fashion had always been about more than fabric. It was about identity and expression. This controversy highlighted how deeply those themes still mattered. Christensen herself did not need to speak. Her choice of outfit and the reaction it sparked became enough to set off a debate. It revealed that fashion was still a battlefield where older women fought to be seen, not dismissed. The clash between Schulman's traditional view and the modern push for inclusivity showed how the industry was changing. It also proved how fast people could gather online and on television to challenge ideas that felt outdated or cruel. The story unfolded like a reflection of wider cultural battles. The world was moving forward, but some voices still held on to old rules. Yet the loud response from critics and from shows like The View made it clear that those rules were being broken down piece by piece. What once might have passed without comment was now met with immediate pushback. By the end of the week, the focus was no longer on whether Christensen's outfit was right or wrong. The attention had shifted toward the bigger issue of how women deserve to feel free in their choices, no matter their age. The backlash against Schulman's remarks became a moment where people came together to defend individuality. It was not just about fashion anymore. It was about the fight to break free from judgment and the demand to live confidently without being told when to step aside. This clash between outdated criticism and modern acceptance showed that clothing can spark far more than surface-level debates. It can open doors to larger discussions about equality, dignity, and the right to exist without shame. What began with one remark turned into a reminder that society still has work to do, but also that change is happening because people refuse to stay silent when outdated rules are pushed onto them. To fully understand Christensen's fashion choices, let's take a look at her journey. Helena Christensen came into the world on December 25, 1968, in Copenhagen, Denmark. She grew up with one younger sister, taking on the role of the elder daughter in the family. Early on, she showed signs of talent and ambition. Alongside her natural beauty, she worked hard to build skills that would help her later. She learned to speak several languages with ease, including Danish, English, French, and German, and this made her stand out when she eventually stepped into the global stage. Her path toward international fame began when she entered beauty pageants as a teenager. In 1986, she won the Miss Universe Denmark title, a victory that gave her a passport into the larger world of fashion and beauty. That same year, she carried the Danish flag into the Miss Universe contest in Panama, where she represented her country among women from all over the world. Though she did not win the crown, the experience gave her a taste of fame and sparked her determination to push forward. Just a year later, in 1987, she joined the Look of the Year competition and impressed the judges enough to become one of the finalists. That recognition pushed her to make a bold move. She left her home in Denmark and set out for Paris, knowing that the city was the heart of fashion and the place where dreams could be shaped into real careers. Once she settled into the fast pace of Paris, her rise began to take shape. Through the 1990s, she transformed into one of the most admired models of her generation. Her breakthrough moment came in 1990 when she starred in the music video for Chris Isaak's song Wicked Game. The video captured her allure in a way that drew massive attention. It was played endlessly on television and became recognized as one of the most sensual videos ever made. Later, MTV ranked it among their most attractive videos, and VH1 placed it high on several of their lists of the greatest and most memorable music videos of all time. This single appearance pushed her name far beyond the fashion world and turned her into a household figure. As her career expanded, she became the face of major brands. In 1992, she signed on as a spokesmodel for Revlon, one of the leading names in cosmetics. Fashion magazines embraced her as well. She appeared on covers of Vogue, Elle, Harper's Bazaar, and W, displaying her versatility and strong presence in print. Designers across the globe brought her into their campaigns with names like Chanel, Versace, Lanvin, Prada, Sonia Rykiel, Hermes, Valentino, and Karl Lagerfeld, choosing her to represent their creations. One unforgettable campaign placed her image on a massive billboard in New York City's Times Square. The billboard measured 20 by 40 feet, and she appeared unclothed except for a carefully placed banana leaf. The striking image caused people to stop and look up, creating one of the most talked about moments in fashion advertising. At the same time, she became one of the original Victoria's Secret models. She appeared in their catalogs and in their commercials, sharing the stage with Tyra Banks, Karen Mulder, Daniela Pestova, and Stephanie Seymour. Together, they were presented as the first group of Victoria's Secret angels, setting the foundation for what would later become a massive tradition in the fashion world. Her place among the top figures of the industry was confirmed in 1996 when the New York Times included her in a group of 7 models referred to as the Magnificent Seven. The group also included Linda Evangelista, Christy Turlington, Cindy Crawford, Naomi Campbell, Elle Macpherson, and Claudia Schiffer. These women ruled the runways and magazine covers of the 1990s, and Helena Christensen was firmly among them. Even after the peak years of the supermodel era, she did not step away from the spotlight. She continued to walk on runways and appear on magazine covers, showing that her influence did not fade with time. In 2016, she returned to the covers of Vogue Italia and Portuguese Vogue. 2 years later, she was featured on the covers of British Tatler and French Elle. In September 2017, she took part in one of the most celebrated runway moments of recent years. Alongside Claudia Schiffer, Naomi Campbell, Cindy Crawford, and Carla Bruni, she closed the Versace Spring and Summer 2018 show. The event honored the late Gianni Versace and celebrated the history of supermodels, marking a powerful reunion of some of the most iconic figures in fashion. Her runway appearances continued into 2019 when she walked for Dolce & Gabbana and took part in their spring and summer advertisement campaign. In that campaign, she appeared with Carla Bruni, Eva Herzigova, and Marpessa Hennig, proving once again that she remained part of the inner circle of fashion legends. Throughout her career, she also worked with several management agencies in different cities. In Paris, she signed with Zio Management, in Milan with D Management, in London with Unsigned Group, and in New York with One Management. These agencies helped her maintain a global presence, ensuring that her career stretched across continents and decades. Helena Christensen built a career that blended daring choices with timeless beauty. She stepped into contests, walked away from her home country, and embraced every opportunity to climb higher. By moving into music videos, magazine covers, and iconic fashion campaigns, she held onto her place in the spotlight for over 3 decades. Her story reflects not only the rise of a supermodel, but also the persistence and drive of someone who knew how to step into the world and make her mark. Even with all these, she still strives to build a brand for herself. Christensen stepped into the publishing world in 1999 when she joined forces with Marvin Scott Jarrett, known for Ray Gun magazine, and Mick Newman, the creator of Kung Fu. Together, they launched Nylon, a magazine that quickly became linked with pop culture, style, and new creative energy. She was not only a co-founder, but also the creative director, shaping the visual style and direction of the magazine. Through this work, she proved that her talent stretched far beyond the modeling world as she played a role in guiding the magazine into becoming a strong voice for a new generation of readers. Her creativity did not stop with magazines. She also moved into the fashion business by starting her own clothing line with her lifelong friend, Leif Sigerson. They named it Christensen and Sigerson, a label that carried their personal touch and shared vision. Before this project, the two friends had already tested the waters of fashion by running a shop together in New York's West Village. The shop was called Boutique, and it gave them a chance to work directly with fashion lovers who wanted unique pieces. The store built a reputation in the neighborhood as a place where style felt fresh and personal, and it gave Christensen more space to grow her ideas in design. Her love for clothing had started even earlier when she created a vintage line that was sold at her mother's store in Copenhagen. The shop, called the Yo-Yo Secondhand Shop, stood in Christianshavn and carried items that reflected her love for older, timeless fashion pieces. This was a project that brought together family and creativity as she put her designs on display in a space run by her mother. It was another example of how she often combined her professional work with her personal life. In 2012, Christensen added another layer to her career by designing lingerie. She created a collection for the British brand Triumph, called Helena Christensen for Triumph. This collaboration was not sudden, but came after years of connection with the company. She had already worked with them since 2008, first as the face of the brand before stepping behind the scenes to create her own line. With this move, she blended her own style with the identity of the brand. Her interests were never limited to fashion alone. She also carried a deep passion for photography, and over the years, she built a body of work that stood on its own.
The actual way photography works, the very simple but also extremely technical and wondrous way that you click a button and then you capture a moment.
Her photos were published in well-known magazines such as Nylon, Marie Claire, and Elle. These projects showed another side of her creativity, one where she was behind the lens rather than in front of it. She worked hard to shape her photography style, and her efforts led to several exhibitions. In 2016, her show titled A Quiet Story opened at the Locust Gallery in Rotterdam. The exhibition was curated by Jim Cook, and it gave the public a chance to see her vision as an artist. The next year, the same exhibition moved to Hotel Arena in Amsterdam, expanding its reach and giving more people the chance to experience her work. In 2008, she presented another exhibition called Far From, Close at the Dactyl Foundation. This project was not only about art, but also about helping others, as it supported educational programs at the International Center of Photography and aided the Chernobyl Children's Project International. This balance between creativity and charity marked an important part of her journey. Her projects often carried a very personal touch. In 2014, she worked on a photography series featuring Liberty Ross, Liv Tyler, and The Pursuit of Grace. She preferred to shape projects in ways that felt close and meaningful to her, often avoiding heavy preparation or long planning stages. Her approach gave her work a natural and unforced feel, capturing moments in a way that felt raw and genuine. Travel became another powerful part of her story. She spent years moving around the world, both as a model and as a photographer. In 2016, she was chosen as the Global Explorer for Luxury Collection Hotels and Resorts. This role allowed her to use her skills behind the camera to document journeys in faraway places. Her main assignment with the company took her to Peru, where she traveled from the seaside town of Paracas to the historic colonial city of Cusco and then to the Urubamba Valley, near the Andes. Through her lens, she brought out the colors, textures, and spirit of the landscapes, showing her audience the beauty of places that held both history and culture. By stepping into so many different areas, Christensen managed to build a career that was not defined by one label. She was a model, yes, but she was also an entrepreneur, a designer, a photographer, and a traveler who explored the world with curiosity and vision. Every project she touched carried her personal mark, whether it was a fashion line launched with a childhood friend, a vintage collection tied to her mother's shop, or an exhibition that raised funds for children affected by disaster. Her work across these different fields showed how she constantly pushed herself to branch out, to try new things, and to blend creativity with business. She often shifted from being in front of the camera to working behind it, from shaping magazines to designing lingerie, from selling vintage pieces to capturing landscapes in far-off countries. Each step opened another path, and she always found a way to turn her ideas into reality. By weaving together fashion, photography, and travel, Christensen created a life that was as layered and colorful as her career. She never stayed in one place for too long, always moving forward, always finding another project to bring to life. Her journey showed how art, business, and exploration could come together in one person's story, and how passion could take many different shapes across time. In addition, her personal life is not left out of the picture. Helena Christensen spent years weaving her life across countries and partners, often in unexpected ways. In the early 1990s, she slipped into a relationship with Michael Hutchence, the singer in INXS. They spent time together, back and forth, living in France and Denmark. Day in, day out, their lives merged. Helena found herself deep in someone else's world, sharing homes, routines, stories. That period shaped her in subtle ways, her heart hanging between two places, always shifting. After that chapter, her life turned again. In the late 1990s, she started seeing actor Norman Reedus. With Norman, she welcomed a boy into the world, Mingus, born in October of 1999. For 5 years, they built a family of 3. Helena and Norman shared the everyday. For Mingus, it meant 2 homes, 2 sets of memories. They never tied their lives with a marriage certificate, but they stayed committed to raising their boy together. When they parted ways in 2003, they made sure Mingus felt both his parents just a short walk away, so nothing of him slipped away. In Copenhagen, she had an apartment that rooted her to her beginnings, somewhere she could lean back into her Danish side. Up in the Catskills in New York, she owned a house where nature likely swept through the trees and breathed fresh life into her. Most of her time landed in Manhattan, her daily compass pointing there. In that Brooklyn-born borough, or more exactly elsewhere in the city, she drove one car, the same trusty model she always had, a Morris Minor. It was the one kind of car she ever got, the one that showed up in her routine over the years. Somewhere along the way, around 2007, she let others know she'd been staying in Monaco. She had moved, folded into a new pace of life on the French Riviera. That became part of her story for a time. Though she didn't make a show of it, she simply reported it as a place she had resided, a line in the map of her world. Later, years into the next decade, she found herself in another relationship. This time with Paul Banks, the singer from the band Interpol. They came into each other's lives and stayed together for several years, from around 2011 until about 2015. That became another part of her personal journey, another story that wordlessly shaped her life. Meanwhile, her roots stayed spread out. Wherever she pulled back, traces of connection remained. Her apartment in Copenhagen, the home in Catskill, and the base she called home in Manhattan. Her car followed her through all of it. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't new, but it carried her, named the only one she ever owned. These pieces fit together in the collage of her life. There was movement and sometimes strong motion, but also quiet shifts where she let things settle into place, and each place added its color to her story. What are your thoughts on Helena Christensen's journey so far? Let us know your views in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.